Hello and welcome to Who Wins podcast, where each episode we pit pop culture icons against each other in a brutal fight to the death. I am Chris Bolton. With me, as always, my partner in pugilism, Mr. Mark Williams.
Hello.
And this episode, we are pitting Daenerys Targaryen against Pete. Pete from Pete's Dragon. I don't know what his surname is, actually. I don't know. Well, technically he hasn't got one because he kind of is an orphan, isn't he?
Yeah, but he's been more or less adopted by the Gogans, isn't he?
Yes, yeah, the Gogans are like the
Yeah, they
evil
bought him.
family. Yeah. But
Yeah,
I don't think is he Pete Gogan then? Is that
well,
what he is?
it's never said, is it? He's just that no,
It's just Pete. It's just Pete.
That's the family he's with, you assume. But yeah, he's just Pete.
So straight away that answers question one I was going to have, because as always we got to get the fucking ground rules laid down here. I was like, okay, there is an original and a remake. They are very fucking different films.
I've not seen the remake.
I've seen them both. The remake's pretty good, to be fair. And actually,
I wasn't quite sure which we were going to do. I figured we'd do the original because
yes, absolutely right. Yes,
that's the one I know. I mean, I say I know it. I've not seen it until this afternoon. I've not seen it in about 32 years.
I mean, it's not the best film, to be honest. So that's not. I mean, it's not terrible, but
it's not terrible. But I mean, we had it. We recorded it off the TV, so we had a copy with adverts and all sorts of shit in it. And I can see the tape. It was one we had of the promotional pack of Colgate toothpaste. So it had fucking Colgate logos all over the box.
Nice.
So I remember that. And I don't remember. I remembered Elliot's design. I remembered his name was Elliot. Didn't remember fuck all about the film. I got to be honest.
Not even Brazzle Dazzle Day. I mean, because that is my one takeaway from Pete's Dragon. Like on the regular, I will just be wandering around going, "It's a Brazzle Dazzle Day." I've done it all day today, knowing that we're doing this. It's just like it's here. And once it's there, it's fucking there. I was about that and Candle in the Water, obviously, but Candle in the Water's kind of taken on a fucking life of its own. It's like one of the first songs everybody learns if you go to piano lessons or keyboard lessons. They're like, "Oh, you could learn to play Candle in the Water." I don't fucking want to. It's boring. It's a hideously boring song. Teach me Brazzle Dazzle fucking Day instead. Or actually, just bin this off and teach me some Mary Poppins. But anyway, it's actually quite difficult.
My brother had keyboard lessons when he was probably about 7, right? And they did the one from Karate Kid. I can't remember the fucking name of it now.
What? Gloria Love?
I can't remember which one it was now. It might be. Whatever it was.
Gloria Love. It's got to be Gloria Love.
I can't remember. Either that I remember him being really excited. I remember him being really excited he was learning to play it, and then he only stuck it out for about 2 months. And didn't get to the end of it. And he's like, "Fuck it, I can't be bothered."
It's got to be Gloria Love. It's got to be. Because that seems like it would be quite easy as well. I don't think I've ever attempted to play it, but now I want to. So anyway, yes. So we're Pete, right. So it's Pete from the 1977 original then against Daenerys Targaryen. Right now, obviously we're allowing the dragons in because otherwise, what's the fucking point? So like the fight is both of them, yes, but the whole point is they're both in.
They got dragons.
Dragons, yeah. So. For those of you that listen to the rest of the shows on the network, you'll know that we've just wrapped up our retrospective rewatch of Game of Thrones, Game of Moans, as we called it. As you hear this, we will literally have just dropped our last episode. Just a week ago, well, not quite a week ago by the time you hear this. So we thought, right, we've got to try and tie all this in together somehow. We've got to work out a way to get a Game of Thrones character in here as well across the net. We would try to find something for SMPD as well, but we were like, I couldn't think of anything with dragons because we've already done Dungeons and Dragons.
The only thing that was close was Dungeons and Dragons. We did that fucking ages ago.
Which we did. We've got some stuff coming up on Mario, possibly. Well, we've got one in mind. We don't know how bad it's going to be, but
there's quite a lot that the cast of Game of Thrones have done that belong on Mario. Let's be honest.
Oh, yeah, there is. But yeah, for this we thought, okay, well, who can we fight against Dany? And it was clear to me straight away it had to be Pete. And it's all about those dragons, isn't it? So the big question with Dany is how many dragons are we allowing her? Is she having all 3? Because I kind of think she probably has to have all 3, doesn't she, really?
Yeah. Although saying that, I mean,
she has one main dragon, doesn't she?
She had Drogon, and then the other 2 she didn't really go on murderous rampages with.
No, that's the thing. Like Drogon is her like hench dragon, isn't he?
Yeah.
Basically, he's her Elliot then, if you like. He's the dragon that saves the little girl and sort of looks after her and stuff, just like Elliot kind of saves Pete and looks after him and stuff. He's her kind of go-to. But I don't know. I mean, she has got 3. She is the mother of 3 dragons. So I wonder whether
there's that. I mean, no, spoilers for people who haven't seen the end of Game of Thrones, but
look, if you haven't, you
yeah.
may as well turn this off now because
Yeah,
you can't
spoilers.
do this without spoiling things.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, if going back, I mean, when she went north, and one of them died, she was on Viserion, wasn't she? So was that her go?
Viserion, yeah.
Wasn't that
Yeah.
Was that the go-to before he died, or was it just she? No, is it just like when you've got lots of cars? You know, I'll take this one today. I'll take that one today.
I think knowing how Game of Thrones is written and all we've talked about, I think it was like, well, we can't kill Drogon. So today she's just gonna go on Viserion instead because we can't kill Drogon. He's everybody's favorite, like Dracarys. So, like, do you know what I mean? If we kill Drogon, we can't do Dracarys anymore because it's always Drogon that does that. So she just happened to take Viserion.
I thought that was just a command in whatever fucking
I
language.
think it is, but it's always fucking Drogon, isn't it? Because he's the main fucking dragon. Because he's the cool-looking one. Because he's the black one. That's the thing, isn't it?
I was going to say something incredibly racist then that they all.
I think I just did, didn't I?
You did. You kind of beat me to the punch, but I was. They all kind of look the same to me. I found it very difficult to tell them apart.
Drogon's kind of more of a dark black color, and he's got some sort of red accents and stuff around the eyes, and some sort of brown color.
All the same
Viserion
type though, because they didn't they have sort of not quite plumage, but sort of
yeah, definitely they did.
The base of the neck and base of the head.
Yeah. Viserion was kind of a more greeny, bluey color, wasn't he? And then Rhaegar, the other one, isn't it?
John's that was a really green one, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that was really super green. So they are different. I could tell them apart. If you put the three in front of me, I could say. But then I keep dragons or baby dragons anyway, not actual giant fucking dragons because they don't exist. So yeah, I'm used to looking at these things. I guess is what I'm saying. So okay, quick decision then. Do we allow all three, or do we just allow Drogon?
It's just got to be Drogon, isn't it?
Just Drogon. So it's Dany and Drogon versus Pete and Elliot. Okay, so I mean, first thing, even if we're just allowing just Drogon, like the size difference between Drogon and Elliot is fucking giant. Like Drogon's huge. I mean, Elliot's not small, but as dragons go,
comparatively, one's a dinosaur and one's a fucking newt.
I mean, I think it is on record. I'm sure there's a line somewhere where Elliot's supposed to be like 20 foot tall or something. But whenever you see him, he's more like about, sort of
9,
2
10
people. Yeah, like about 10 to 11 foot probably. So
yeah.
I mean, thing is though, I guess with Elliot, he can probably grow and shrink. I mean, because here's the key, Elliot's a fucking magic dragon. That's the thing.
I was going to say, that's the thing, is that for all of Drogon's piss and vinegar, Elliot does magic.
Yeah, well, I mean, Elliot's invisible. So,
yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, that's a pretty good fucking... But then, would he be invisible to another dragon is the thing. I mean, Dragon's eyesight, I think, is actually pretty fucking shit. Certainly, mine just keep fucking running into shit and running off stuff. So, I mean, I know with bearded dragons, a lot of their actual sensory perception comes from licking things.
Yeah, same with like Komodo dragons and stuff, isn't it?
Yeah. So, maybe they wouldn't be able to see Elliot anyway.
But I mean, this is going to sound ridiculous, but you've kind of got to go with the magic as presented. So Elliot can be invisible.
Yes.
So it's not. I mean, I don't think it's subspecies. I don't think it's not specific to. Well, he's invisible to people, but not to dragons or not to gerbils. He's invisible.
Yeah, he is invisible. Like it just so happens that that Pete can see him. But other than that, he's invisible unless he chooses to make himself visible. On occasion, other people have been able to see him as well. Yeah. Or you've got the classic, like if he runs through something, he leaves a Elliot-shaped hole. Yeah. If you wanted to like cover him in flour, you'd probably see him. You know. But then so I mean, the powers that we know of with Elliot, like he can go invisible. We know that. Drop in my microphone. Fuck. Hopefully that didn't blow anybody's ears out. He can go invisible. We know that much. And he can breathe fire. We know that much. Yeah. That's kind of about it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about it today because I watched it today. I haven't watched this for fucking 30 years until today. Didn't get to watch all of it because between work and picking up little people, I think I got about an hour in. So I got enough of it to remind me of what was going on, and I kind of get the impression that, as you said, they say about Elliot being can be 20 foot tall. But he's more like about 9. I wondered, and I remember wondering about this many years ago, if it was kind of proportionate. So the fact that he's with a little person, he's with a child who is small, he kind of keeps his height to so what would be just bigger than an adult. as opposed to saying, right, I'm going to be this huge fucking ginormous Godzilla thing.
Well, I think
because he's magic, so because he can scale himself. On what I was wondering.
Yeah, well, you do sometimes see him in comparison to the lighthouse as well, and he's like as big as the lighthouse almost. So I guess he can. So I guess we'll give him that as well. So I guess he can scale himself. He's invisible, and he can breathe fire.
Yeah.
What could Drogon do?
Melt shit.
I mean, he can breathe fire. They can both fly. So
they can both fly. I think he's given the design on him. He's going to be slightly more adept at flying than Pete.
I mean, look, given the design on him and the temperament, like if Drogon can see Elliot, Pete's fucking
just going to
toast.
nuke him, isn't he?
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing, isn't it? Even with Elliot being invisible, like we need to remember the fight here is Dany and Pete. So if Dany squares up to Pete and she's just like Dracarys, and Drogon starts spewing fire, like Elliot's going to jump straight in front of that because that's what he does. Or well, he's either going to jump in front of it or snatch Pete up, I guess, would be more like he wouldn't willingly kill himself as well. I guess he'd snatch Pete and fly them both away.
Yeah.
At which point it's going to look like Pete is flying. So that's got to fucking freak Dany out a little bit, at least.
There is that. I mean, what you've got to remember as well is that Elliot may well stick himself in front of it because fire can't kill a dragon.
Aha!
It's established. It's in the law. So, it's in Game of Thrones. They've written it themselves. So fire cannot kill a dragon. Therefore...
Yeah, okay, but can fire kill Elliot, though? Because he's not a game... This is the thing. He's not a Game of Thrones dragon, is he?
But he's a dragon.
Magic dragon.
But he's a dragon.
Okay, so we'll allow that then. Okay, so he can literally jump in front and just act as a shield then. So there's no way Dany can torch Pete. Not without knocking Elliot out first.
But that's where Drogon comes into it because he's that much bigger and more aggressive that if he can see him, and again you've got, I mean, we alluded to it in last week's Game of Moans at the end. There has always been this thing about the dragons are more intelligent than everybody gives them credit for. Is he going to realize, okay, well that one didn't work, something's in the way, I'm just going to swing my tail at it?
Well, quite possibly, yeah. But that being the case, then Elliot will just
fly out
the way. Yeah. I mean, there's also the thing of like if it comes down to a fist fight between the two dragons, like Drogon's got to be kind of constantly spewing fire in order to keep visual on Elliot to start with.
Yeah.
And there's also the thing of actually, like, yeah, Drogon's bigger and he's nastier to look at, but I kind of feel in a fist fight, I might actually give a bit of an edge to Elliot, just because for a start he can stand bipedal.
Yeah.
And he's quite, I mean, he's just built like a fucking 40-year-old hard man, isn't he? Let's be honest.
I was going to say
he's got massive arms.
Yeah, he has those human characteristics. Even when Pete's telling, is it Nora?
Oh, yeah, don't ask me any other character names.
When he's telling, it is Nora. When he's describing him, he's got a head of a camel, legs of a cow, neck of a giraffe. It's probably some sort of freakish fucking nightmare. There's this just big lumbering body that he's got, where you would sort of equate it to a sort of Butterbean-esque, sort of fighter.
That's a good analogy, yeah. Butterbean. That's kind of what I was reaching for. That kind of slightly podgy, but really like stocky, if his punch connects.
Yeah, it's got a lot of weight behind it. So he's like a hit him with an anvil.
Yeah, definitely. Plus, of course,
we've got that. And as I said, because he's bipedal and he does have this sort of almost, he's almost sort of treated, whereas Drogon is treated like an intelligent animal. Elliot is kind of treated like not a dumb adult, but like a sort of like a tween. He understands what's going on, but he's not sort of overly wise. But he has that sort of semi-human brain, whereby he does it works to a point, and then he has to revert to being a dragon. So I think he's going to be more intelligent than Drogon as well. So I mean, he's more likely to come up with the strategy. Drogon's more likely to be claws and feathers and rip things apart.
Well, I think that's quite key, isn't it? Is that actually Dany's always going to have to command Drogon, I think, because otherwise he is just a wild animal. Whereas Elliot and Pete can work as a team because they've both got a level of intelligence. And ultimately, remember, this fight is between Pete and Dany. It's like, yes, okay, who are we kidding? The actual fighting is going to be between the dragons.
But it's because that's cooler.
Yes, but they are the assists here, if you like. So yeah, Dany, They are at a disadvantage because Dany needs visual on Elliot in order to be able to command Drogon.
Yeah.
Whereas Elliot
unless she's going to nuke another city from orbit just to get him.
But even then, you said it yourself, fire cannot kill a dragon.
Yeah, but that relies on Elliot being in the way to take the fire.
True, yeah.
Whereas, so if it's just as she did at King's Landing, just fucking nuke the site, just trash everything.
The fucking town, what's it called? Something beginning with P. It's got a really long name.
Passamaquoddy.
Passamaquoddy. There you go. So she just nukes Passamaquoddy, lighthouse and all.
Yeah.
Just
to get to him. Hey, she did it for Cersei.
I mean, that's not unlike Dany, but again, she's going to have to do that from orbit. Yeah. Which means
there's nothing to say that Pete's going to be there when she does it.
No, and also if Elliot clocks them doing that from orbit, there's nothing to stop him just going up there and basically torpedoing them, which we've seen him do. He can just fucking form a torpedo and smash into them.
Yeah.
Knock them clean out of the air. Which point if you knock Dany out off Drogon's back when she's that high.
Well, yeah, the Force will
fucking she's dead, isn't she? Unless Drogon can catch her, she's dead. So that's a risky strategy.
It is. The thing is, I don't think she's clever enough to realize the risk of that because she's arrogant enough to think, oh, well, fuck it, I'm the mother of dragons and the breaker of chains and 16,000 of my name and all that shit. She doesn't know. She's not going to think, actually, a little boy and an invisible dragon are going to pose any threat.
I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? Peter's very unassuming because he's a little orphan and he's quite meek and mild and he's, all hard done by and everything.
Yeah. And that's the other thing is if it came to it, they're both midgets and it would just be like fucking Scrappy Doo fighting a Cocker Spaniel. It would just Danny's just going to be there going, what the fuck is this? And Pete's going to be going for her because she's not used to getting her hands dirty and actually doing stuff herself, apart from setting people on fire. Whereas he's going to be willing to scrap because he's had to run, he's had to duck and dive and hide and fight and all the rest of it just to stay alive with the Gogans.
That's the thing. We've talked about it, not for a while actually, but when we had some matchups, certainly in the early days, we talked about the value of kind of being plucky. And he's got that. Like he's had to think on his feet. He's had to have a certain element of luck. He's had to be cheeky. He's had to do all that just to survive. As you say with the Gogans. Whereas Dany, once she starts on a murderous fucking rampage, and she does go on a murderous rampage. For those of you that don't listen to the other show, okay, our flag is very firmly in the sand on this one. She goes on a murderous rampage very fucking early in her character development.
Yeah, in season 1.
Yeah, once she starts with that, like there's no kind of, she doesn't ever have to get her hands dirty, as you say, because she just conquers everyone and has her army doing her work for her, which is why, as I say, she is going to be commanding Drogon, as opposed to you can see Pete hurling a few apples around and shit like that, pulling the apples off the fucking trees and just whipping them at her and smashing them off her head. Do you know what I mean? Whereas I don't think she'd actually have the wherewithal to do that without an advisor and without an army. She's pretty useless. She's just a ball of rage, isn't she?
Yeah, I mean, the only time you ever saw her do anything herself was, say, when in season 1 when she burnt the witch, where again she set her on fire and then stepped in there with her because why not? And then in season 6 when she locked all of the Thraki in their big sword, wherever it was, and set them on fire. That's the only time she ever actually gets to kill herself, apart from when she sat on the back of Drogon. In which case, in her killing, he gets the assist, or is it his kill and she gets the assist for commanding it?
I think it's her kill because she's commanding it.
Yeah, I
think, but we have to, as we've just discussed, you have to kind of treat Drogon like a semi-intelligent animal, like he is being commanded. He's capable of thought.
I was going to say, do you want to consider them as sort of sentient weapons rather than?
Yes, yeah, that's a good. Whereas I very much feel that Elliot has a persona. He is capable of free and independent thought. Then I think, and is cognizant of his actions and able to take his own actions. Whereas I don't think Drogon is. I think Drogon is more about, I'll do whatever Dany says because she's my mother.
Yeah.
So I mean, in terms of, I mean, we haven't actually discussed why they're fighting either, which is, I don't know.
Because Dany's involved.
I guess. Yeah.
Somebody else has dragons, so she's jealous.
normally we're able to find a reason for the two characters to fight. Like normally somebody's pissed somebody off doing something. But yeah, I think you're probably right. It's just like they can be only one. She's got to
Yeah.
go Highlander on this motherfucker. Like I'm the one with dragons. You
Yeah.
can't have, and you especially can't have a cooler dragon than me that's invisible. Like you absolutely can't do that. It's not allowed.
Yeah.
I mean, in another world though, like there's an argument. Okay, spoilers for you, Mark, because you haven't seen it for 30 years and you didn't get to the end today, so you may have forgot this. But by the time you get to the end of the film, Elliot actually leaves Pete. He goes away because Pete settles into the lighthouse and stuff, and he gets adopted. So he doesn't need Elliot anymore. So Elliot goes to find another orphan, essentially, because he's like a guardian of just children.
Patron saint of losers.
Yeah, he's like the patron saint of urchins, basically. So there is another world where maybe Dany could have ended up with him had she not turned into a murderous bitch, basically.
Yeah,
because let's not forget
right.
when she starts. She's only a teenager when she starts, isn't she? She's like 16, I think, when the show starts, somewhere around there.
Well, it's ambiguous because when in the book, I think she's younger. I think she's about 14.
Right.
By the time they got to shoot in the show, obviously they were uncomfortable with that, and they needed her to be older because the character was so sexualized and was sexually abused and all the rest of it. So I think they
sexualizing characters in Game of Thrones. I don't believe it for a second. Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, I think what they kind of did is went, well, she needs to be demonstrably younger than Drogo. She needs to be very naive and not world weary and the rest of it. So she needs to be on the young side, but she still needs to be an adult because condoning rape is one thing, condoning child rape is entirely different.
Yeah, I mean, all rape is bad, but yes, I see where you're coming from.
But yeah, in terms of Game of Thrones and their world, because we've seen. I mean, we saw how they dealt with what was his name, Meryn Trant.
Mm-hmm.
He abused children. He was blinded and gutted and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
So whereas people who rape women are just that's just what they're there for in show logic.
Yeah. So I mean, there is a world where Dany could have ended up with Elliot, but she's essentially the fucking Empire, so it's not going to happen. She's not going to happen. She's a bad guy. All right, just accept it, folks. She's a fucking bad guy.
But no, she was misunderstood.
No, she's the fucking bad guy. So I guess this comes down. If she makes any attempt to try and have a fist fight with Pete, Elliot's getting in the way. If she tries and burns Pete, Pete basically has a gigantic magic shield.
Yeah.
Now, that's not to say if she knows that Elliot's going to get in the way, she could just bum rush Pete with a fucking spear or a knife out or something and plunge it straight into Elliot's gut. Because whilst he might be impervious to fire, not going to be impervious to that. Yeah. And would Elliot take that? Or again, is it just a case of he's swooping in and picking Pete up and taking him away? Like, how fast is he going to be is the thing.
Yeah, no, I don't...
In which case, maybe there's a pincer movement there. Maybe Dany bum rushes towards Pete and has Drogon cut off the escape.
Possibly. I mean, I think that the way to do it would be it would be using Drogon to get Pete out of the way, so not even intersecting him as he tried. Not to get Pete, but get Elliot out of the way. So that's the problem when they have human names. It's just I don't remember which one is which. So yeah, I mean, it's not even a case of cutting Elliot off as he tries to fly away. If anything, it would be a case of right, okay, well, you're bigger than him and faster than him and stronger than him, so just whip the fucker, hit him with your tail, hit him with anything you've got, just to get the dragon out the fucking way. Engage it in a fight, so it can't ignore you. It has to fight you, at which point the child is unprotected.
Yes, but then that relies on Drogon being able to see Elliot is the thing.
It does at first, but I mean, again, you kind of, being a big and lumbering ox myself, you swing around hard enough, you hit something.
I guess if you keep swinging,
if you know where Pete is, Elliot's going to be there somewhere, even if he's invisible. Elliot's going to be there somewhere protecting him. You start swinging arms and legs and tails and claws, you're going to hit him at some point.
We are moving in 3-dimensional space as well, though, aren't we? Because Elliot can fly. So
yeah, but again, you can see, because Elliot can go invisible, Pete can't.
Yeah, but
so if he picks him up to try and fly with him, He's still going to see it.
But what I'm saying is if Drogon's just relying on blindly thrashing around, it's not like you can just sweep the ground with your tail and eventually hope to hit something, because Elliot could be flying. Elliot could literally be above Drogon, like right above his head in his blind spot.
But if he is, again, even if he's still thrashing, if Elliot's above him, Pete's unprotected on the floor.
Well, you would think so, but then if they're looking for Elliot, they're not attacking Pete, are they?
But again, as a strategy, you go and start causing havoc around Pete. Elliot's either there or he's not. If he's there, you're going to draw him out. And if he's not there, Pete's unprotected. And you'll just do the damage yourself without Danny having to do it.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that is
it's
more luck than judgment.
Oh, completely. But that's the Game of Thrones way. You don't think about things. You don't have strategy.
You don't think about things. No. Whereas,
as a big lumbering person myself, no, that's a valid strategy. You just batter things as hard as you can until something falls over. And if it's you, then it's you.
I don't see that working, because I think we're in a situation where the two of them are smart enough that Pete would know enough to say, right, I'm going to run and climb a tree or something, just to get out of the way. Meanwhile, Elliot can be above Drogon, and once he's above him, he can just fucking like belly flop him like onto his head or something, at which point he's mounted the motherfucker. Like, you grab him by the fucking ears and you just
ride him away.
Basically.
Because apparently it's not hard to ride a dragon either.
No, he can be ridden. So plus Elliot's got, he's heavier than Danny, so he's got more momentum. He's got wings for thrust. So he could definitely, I feel like he could probably take control of it forcibly. Admittedly, it'd be like a fucking bronco. But I definitely think if he mounts him, he could take control, much like, one MMA fighter mounting another. Once you've mounted them, you have control of that person that's on the ground. Like, there is nothing they can do. You have control. And I think he's big enough. Like, yeah, there is a size difference, but I think he's big enough and heavy enough that if he's mounted him, he's fucking mounted him. Now, that takes both dragons out of the game.
Yeah.
Which just comes down then to Danny and Pete, who we've now decided is up a tree.
Yeah.
But Pete loves fucking apples, so you just pick the apples out of the tree, as I say.
Start throwing them.
Yeah.
Well, this is it, and I think that he is, given their characters and their nature, he's a street urchin. He's a lot wiser. He's a lot more savvy. He's a lot more canny. He's going to be used to hiding from people, as we saw at the start. He's used to running away and hiding and finding vantage points.
Yes.
So you can see what's going on, and he can manipulate. Yes, okay, Elliot was doing all the damage. He tripped the Gogans all into the mud and all the rest. So he did all of that. But Pete was able to get out of the way, and we saw it. We saw it when he's first walking through Passamaquoddy, where he's fairly streetwise. He's got quite a smart mouth about him as well.
Yeah,
You think, well, he's going to run fucking circles around her, because she's not going to know what the hell to do. She's going to be like the fucking school teacher who tells him not to be so stupid and not to try to undermine her or look silly. She's just going to be telling him off, because that's all she does. That's all she's got in there, is to scold.
That's the key as well, isn't it? It's her personality type that the more he makes her look stupid, the angrier she's going to get. And then, of course, you're caught in that spiral then of the angrier you are, the more stupid mistakes you're going to make.
Yeah.
So he could literally just be taking pot shots. I think the smart move for Danny at this point is to free Drogon. If she knows now, if Elliot's pinned Drogon, then we know that's where Elliot is.
Yeah.
So if she goes for Drogon, she knows that she can take Elliot out.
Yeah.
So I think that's what she's got to do.
I think that's possibly Pete's vulnerability as well, because he's going to see her doing that, because obviously he knows where Elliot is. He can see him.
Yeah.
So if she's now going for him rather than coming for Pete, he's going to want to save him. He's going to give up any advantage he's got in terms of hiding.
Yeah, he definitely is. So let's say he springs from the tree at that point and goes after her. He can still have his arms full of his fucking apples. Depends how good a shot he is, I guess. You get a lucky shot to the fucking back of the knee, she's going to go down, isn't she? But that's a pretty fucking lucky shot. So I guess he just pelts her with it.
Again, I think that's given her character. All he doesn't need a strategic shot. He just needs something to hit her, and she's going to turn around.
You're right, actually. Yeah, if he hit her, she would stop and turn around and be like, "How dare you,
you little fucker! Yeah. Don't you know who I am? I'm the breaker of whatever."
Whatever it is, yeah. At which point then would she be distracted enough to chase him, or would she be single-minded enough to carry on?
No, because she's been slighted and disrespected at that point.
She'd be back after him, wouldn't she?
Yeah, she's going to want to take him down because nobody does that to the Mother of Dragons.
No. So at which point then they're going to have to go toe to toe. So does Elliot now let Drogon up and move quickly? I mean, what happens here then if she's closer to them? What happens here if Elliot leaves Drogon and grabs Dany? Because Drogon presumably would chase then, wouldn't he? I think he would follow Dany. He would forget all about.
Oh God, yeah.
Pete. So I think if Elliot just misses, takes her from behind, and starts climbing with her.
Yeah, and just get to a certain height and fucking drop her.
Yeah, exactly. Now Drogon then is going to obviously try and swoop under and catch her, but
even then, no, we've already seen he can't hold. The only way he can hold her is in his mouth.
Well,
because if he gets underneath to try and catch her, she's going to catch hold of him at the same time.
At the same
and
time,
that's a hell of a maneuver when you're falling.
It is. So I think that's a long shot. But also, I mean, if they're just high enough that it's going to kill her from the fall, which doesn't have to be all that high, really, particularly if they're going at velocity, and if Pete is up a tree with some fucking pretty hardy apples, I've decided that apples are his weapon, just because you always see him and Elliot fucking eat apples.
Yeah.
The one thing Game of Thrones did teach us about these dragons is they're absolutely shit at avoiding incoming fire.
Yeah.
So, like, as he's going to catch Dany, Pete could easily just fucking take him out with an apple to the temple, like David and Goliath style. Just whip it around his head in a slingshot.
I think, given the shape, the shape and design of the skull, I think you need a pretty hardy shot to the side of the head to do anything to him. They're kind of naturally armored, aren't they? They're kind of like dinosaurs.
Yeah, I guess. Unless you wait for him to like open up his fucking fire mouth and just shoot an apple straight down the fucking gullet
to make him gag.
Just choke the fucker. Or you knock Dany straight back off again. You know, she lands on his back, you just fucking whip an apple at her and knock her straight back off.
But again, I mean, that's a hell of a shot, isn't it?
It's a hell of a shot, yeah. Okay, so that's not going to work then, but I still think we see that through. I think he takes off with Dany, drops her. So the question then is, can Drogon save her?
I think
he can catch her.
I think, I think between the two of them, I think he's not going to catch her. He's going to be underneath her and close enough that she can catch on.
Yes, I would agree. Okay, so now she's on Dragonback. Pete's unprotected.
Now she just goes into fucking
now she's just gonna fucking nuke him. And who are we kidding here? Like,
she's gonna nuke the tree and scorch the earth underneath it as well, and everything for about 20 square miles.
The whole fucking thing on fire. Like there is no two ways about it.
Just do the school and the haberdashery and the lighthouse and everything with it, just for the fuck of it.
Yeah, there's a Pete BQ going on now. This is. That's it, isn't it? Like he's pissed her off enough. He's left himself unprotected. Like Elliot's done a good job, and I gotta be honest. I thought Elliot might take this just because invisible. And technically Elliot's still alive, but
it's not. The fight's not between the dragons,
and I don't think he's fast enough to get to Pete after.
No.
So I think that's it. I think she's just gonna fucking Dracarys his ass. Yeah.
Because I mean, realistically, Elliot's going to be moving upwards in order to drop her. So Drogon's automatically underneath, and as soon as she lands, she's
just straight on him,
he's
like
going straight down.
Little motherfucker's in that tree somewhere.
Yeah. He's within 14 square miles. Just fucking have at it.
Yeah, just do the fucking
burn it down.
Just do the lot. And I don't care if we kill all the fucking fishermen and we nuke the lighthouse and we nuke the medicine man. I don't care. Just fucking kill all of them.
Yeah, like, I want that child dead.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a way I can spin this that like the Gogans were fucking practically slavers. So that'll do. I was liberating all the other children that they would have bought in the future.
Yeah.
Like, she'll find a way to spin it.
Well, she won't, but her followers will.
Her followers will, yeah. Tyrion will find some sort of way to dress it all up and make it sound like it was a perfectly acceptable action.
Yeah, and even if he can't, the internet will do it for them.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it's for.
Yeah. So I guess we have to give this one.
I think so, begrudgingly. I think.
I really didn't want to. I really didn't want to.
Yeah, but yeah, I think. To be fair, I think we dragged it out longer than I expected us to. Anyway.
No, I don't know. I thought it might have gone a bit, but once she's on the back of that dragon, nah.
What's he got fucked?
Game over, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really know how to answer that, to come back from that.
He's dead. He's toast.
Yeah.
He's toast.
He's one of the blackened remains that we saw on last week's episode.
Yeah, he's gone. No more.
Yeah. So in the battle of Daenerys and Pete, Daenerys cremates every motherfucker in the room, and then cremates the room.
As she is wont to do, basically, because that's her style.
Absolutely. If you've got thoughts on that, please get in touch. Let us know on Twitter at ddpodcastnet. You can go to our website, ddpodcast.net, where you can also get our previous episodes or other shows. On Facebook and YouTube with the Double M Podcast Network. Wherever you get your podcast from, be iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon Play, Amazon Music, Google Play, whatever the fuck they're called. There's too many.
One of them. Okay.
I can't remember what they're called. They're on all of them anyway.
We don't care. Leave us a review, though, wherever you are, please.
Share, subscribe, leave us a review. That's always good. Comment, and we'll get back to you as best we can. Until next time.
Have a brazzle-dazzle day, folks.